Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the voluntary carbon market and its climate change mitigation potential. Today, webinar masterclass is the 6th edition of our webinar series that we started on 16 January and is going to end by 9 of April. This webinar is brought to you by Maintainer Youth Task Force in collaboration with Youth Skill Hub of the Educational Track of the World Food Forum. Today's edition, our speaker is Vitor Vannozzi Brito. And hi, Idris Olaniwaju will be your moderator for today. Maintainer Youth Task Force is a youth branch of Silver Mediterranean under the FAO, and our objective is to participate, organize, and promote knowledge sharing among the youth and capacity building activities in the area of work of the Silver Mediterranean sector, with 5 active working groups and other forestry network. So we are also into promoting spaces for exchange of ideas and dialogue. We are open to innovation, not only among the youth, but also with policy maker, decision maker in the forest sectors of the region. So we also, among what we do, we promote, lead, and adhere to innovative actions in the forest sectors of the Mediterranean, promoting youth action and participation to make sure that the voice of the young professional, students, researchers are being heard by the policy makers. Our membership cut across young people, and we have representatives from more than 33 countries spread across the Mediterranean region. We engage young people within the age of 18 to 35 years who are either living or working in the Mediterranean region. So we have amongst all the students, we have researchers, we have young professionals, forestry experts, among others that are play active roles in the forest sector of the Mediterranean region. So in case you want to join forces with us, we are open to creative, powerful synergy that can lead to innovative solution. You can write to us through our email, met.youth.tf@gmail.com. And you can also check out on us through our social media platforms. We are on X, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You can as well scan the QR code to have access to our webpage. Today, we'll go into another edition, as I said earlier. You can scan the QR code to have access to our webpage. Our webpage will give you access to updates, current activities, more information that are there on our webpage. We have important information about the event, the certificates, eligibility. You want to have access to the recording of the previous webinar and materials by the speakers. And if you want to know more about the events, you can scan the QR code and have access to all this information. So today's topic is going to be how does the voluntary carbon market support nature-based climate solution project? And it's going to be delivered by no any other person, by Vitor Vannozzi Brito. And the skill set we're going to learn today is understanding nature-based climate solution, NCS, and then the synergies, the challenges and solutions in nature-based climate solution project are the skill set we're going to learn. And a brief introduction about our speaker for today. Victor is a forest engineer, graduated at the University of Sao Paulo, and hold an Erasmus Mundus master's degree in tropical biodiversity and ecosystem, Tropimundo. Vitor, he previously has worked with FAO as an intern and later as a junior consultant in the water and mountain team. But now, Vitor is based in Paris, is the carbon officer at the hummingbirds, and he provides technical support to the portfolio of projects focused on the voluntary carbon market in several geographies, including Western and Eastern Africa, Latin America, Europe, and Southeast Asia. So, like I said, without wasting much of our time and delaying us, I think I can hand over the mic to Victor. Victor, are you ready?
Yes, let me share my screen.
Sure.
I think I cannot share my screen, Idris, because you're sharing yours.
Okay, I can stop my, let me stop mine and you share yours. Okay, you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Idris, for the introduction, and thank you, the Mediterranean Youth Task Force and the whole team for organizing this event. I think it's very important. And today I was given the mission to present and to provide some insights on how does the voluntary carbon market can support the nature-based climate solution projects. However, before starting the presentation itself, I think it would be very important to get to know the audience and who am I talking to, because otherwise it's too, I don't know anything about you. So before starting the presentation itself, I'd like just to share a quick Mentimeter with you. So you can tell me who you are and we can have some insights for discussion. So if you could please scan this QR code and access Mentimeter, I'd like to ask you some questions so I can get to know you as well. So, okay, we have many Italians, but I can see people from many continents as well, which is pretty interesting. So Idris, we have around 200 people right now in the...
Yeah, we'll still have more
sorry.
as we proceed.
Okay, so we have around 70 responses, but it's very nice to see that we have many people from Italy, but also from some countries in tropical areas. So very, very nice. I will move to our second question, just to focus a bit more on your background. So I know that some of us are foresters, but I'd like to know what else we are as well. So we have some people on agriculture, some foresters, forest engineers, public policy, anthropology. Okay, very, very nice. We have sustainability, circular economy, but the majority indeed in forestry and agriculture, which is very nice. So you are in the right place because the voluntary carbon market has a lot of opportunities for people working in those areas. Now I will move to our third question that I want to understand about your perceptions on the voluntary carbon market. So I bring you two questions, and you should use the bar to choose if you strongly agree or strongly disagree. So the first one is if the VCM, the voluntary carbon market, is able to support the development of impactful nature-based solution projects. And the second question is about if the carbon credits are the best way to finance nature-based solution projects. So you give, we have around 40 answers so far. So you give some other seconds for you to answer it. But I can see that people in general agree that the voluntary carbon market is able to support good, high-quality projects in the domain of nature-based solutions. However, not everyone is 100% sure that it's the best way to finance this type of projects. So that's something that I will discuss, I will cover in the presentation. And finally, my last question for you, and the most difficult one, I wanted to ask about your insights on how the carbon finance can support those type of projects. So again, very open questions, so you can put either keywords or you can write a bit more. So this one I can read. So reforestation, bringing money to the projects, stopping wars. Some people say it's a scam. Fair enough. Global capital, incentives, transition model, conservation and restoration, funding projects, financing reforestation, land restoration, supporting ecosystem services, transparency, a very important word that we hear a lot right now, supporting social groups, high impact nature-based solution projects. Farmers, supporting rural communities, improve forest management. Well, thank you for your insights. Indeed, the voluntary carbon market has some contact and has to do with many of these topics. And today in this presentation, I will try to cover a little bit those areas and bring to you a more, at least the idea from a project developer, which is Hummingbirds right now. So thank you for your answers. Now I'll move to the presentation again. So just to tell you a bit about the outline of this presentation. So now that I know you, I know what am I talking to. I'd like to start with some introduction about the nature-based solution projects in the voluntary carbon market, what we do here at Hummingbirds, and then focus more on the VCM, the voluntary carbon market finance, as a tool to support these projects and the main challenge a way forward. And before finishing, presenting you two case studies from Hummingbirds, so you can see examples of what we are doing in terms of in the domain of the voluntary carbon market. So now I know who I'm talking to, so I can move to the introduction. So I know that we, in these previous sessions, and now this is a session number 6. In the previous sessions, many topics were discussed already, so I don't want to be repetitive. And my idea is just to give a brief overview of the voluntary carbon market, and then move to the more applied topic on developing projects and using the VCM finance. So we all know that the NDCs, so the National Determined Contributions, some of them are ambitious. They should be ambitious, but the states alone will not be enough to keep the global warming below 2 degrees. Therefore, we believe that the private sector action is very important to close this gap. And if we see the different scenarios. So the conditional and the C scenario that is around 2.4, and the difference with the 2 degrees range. We believe that there is, and we see that there is a large scale and very important mobilization of private actors to close this gap and to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement. So in this sense, private action is very important. And the good news is that the private companies are indeed taking action to fight climate change. So we see that the number of companies taking actions are improving and are increasing a lot. So if we get the data from the Science Based Targets Initiative, the SBTi, before 2020, you had around 750 companies with goals and targets. And today, I checked the website, is more than 7,650 companies taking action. Just from 2021 to 2022, the number multiplied by 2. So we see that the companies are taking action and they are planning to align their commitments and their production with and their activities with the Paris Agreement, with the climate goals. So this, in turn, these commitments, they are translated into a demand, into increasing demand for carbon credits. That I know that it was explained before, but just a reminder: each carbon credit represents 1 ton of carbon CO2 equivalent that was sequestered or not emitted to the atmosphere. So 1 carbon credit is 1 ton of CO2 equivalent. And if we have a look at this demand, we can see that the primary market size in the voluntary carbon market is increasing quite fast. So compared to, if we see from 2020 to 2021, we had a triple size, so, and reaching more than $1 billion. It increased a bit to 2022, but last year there was some turbulence in the market. But these graphs show that by 2030, the market should reach $40 billion. So it's increasing. There is a very increased demand. And when we see at the types of credits that have been issued so far, so right now we have around 2 billion credits that have been issued. And nature-based solutions represent already the majority of it. So it's around 40% of all those credits come from nature-based solution projects. And again, another difference and reminder that I need to make in this presentation is that there are 2 different markets for carbon credits. There is a voluntary and the compliance. And the voluntary is one that's where private individuals, companies, other actors, they do transactions. So they buy, they sell carbon credits outside regulated or mandatory carbon instruments. So there is no determined price. There is no, is quite different from the compliance that I know that was already explored in previous presentations. And then we see that so far we had these 2 billion credits issued so far, but the demand is increasing. So we can see in the graph on the left that these are the volumes of credits issued, and then in the right, the volume of credits retired. And something interesting is that the demand for those voluntary carbon credits are about to increase around 15 times by 2030 and 100 times by 2050, which means that the demand, there is a demand for new projects, new credits. But if we see these graphs as well, we can see that from 2022 to 2023, there was a slight decrease in both issued and retired credits that were due to the market, so macroeconomics, and also some turbulence that I will present a bit later. And then when we have a specific focus on nature-based solutions, I think it's important for us to define as well. So there are actions to protect, sustainably manage, and restore natural and modified ecosystems, addressing societal challenges effectively and adaptively, simultaneously benefiting people and nature. So this is the definition from IUCN, and it's important to involve people indeed. And there is also another important data to provide that the nature-based solutions are important. it can contribute to up to 1/3 of the mitigation efforts by 2050, but alone, it won't do anything. So it's really important for us to avoid first, then reduce, then offset. So in terms of the companies, the carbon credits should not and are not actually the main instruments. First of all, they indeed should avoid and reduce as much as possible, and just offset and compensate as the last the emissions that they can't really avoid. So this is important to say, because it's one of the criticisms to the market regarding greenwashing, as some of you even commented in the questions that I present to you. So indeed, the offset is the last resource, and nature-based solutions alone won't be able to solve the problems of climate change, unfortunately, but it's important to say that. And then zooming in a little bit in the carbon projects, so far, we have around 700 million credits issued from nature-based solution projects. We have around more than 500 projects registered, and around 50% of them are for ARR, which is reforestation. But the majority of the credits, as we can see here in this graph, around 80%, come from REDD+ projects, which is the type of projects of avoiding deforestation and degradation. So although reforestation, I will explain a bit why, but although they are half of the projects, only 15% of the credits come from this type of project. Now, I'd like to present a little bit as well about hummingbirds and explain what we do as project developers in this voluntary carbon market. So Hummingbirds is a French company. We are around 2 years old, and we aim to taking immediate effective action to tackle climate and biodiversity loss crisis through community-driven nature restoration and conservation. So our idea here is to accelerate, develop, and finance high-quality nature-based solution projects around the world. And when I say around the world, it's literally globally. So we have projects in every continent. And our motivation to exist is that we believe that there is indeed this need from different companies to offset their unavoided emissions, but there are not enough high quality projects in the market. So our idea is really to accelerate and support those projects and accompany them until certification. So in terms of offering, we have 3 pillars of offering. So the first one is about capacity building. So we know that there are many good actors in the field that know how to plant, how to do a conservation project, etc., but they don't know exactly how to integrate carbon in their project. So our idea is to accompany them since the beginning and support until reaching certification and developing a very good and high quality project. The second one is in terms of project development. So we support and invest feasibility and pilots, feasibility studies and pilots. So again, to de-risk the projects and make them financially viable for investment in the future. And the third and last one is that we fund the greenfield operations. So we are now raising a fund that will be able, if everything goes well by next year, to provide funding to these projects as we support the development. And actually, you heard a lot of me talking about high quality projects, but I know that was mentioned already in the previous presentation, but it's very important to talk about this, because everyone right now is saying, oh, we develop high quality projects, but what are high quality projects in this market? So there's 5 criteria that is very important. So the first one is regarding how we are going to measure these credits to account for those credits. So the first one is regarding the methodologies and the certification that we're using. So right now in the market, there are several standards, several methodologies. Some of them are a bit better than the others. They are a bit more strict. Some of them allow for playing around with some of the possibilities. So the first one is that they have to be measurable and follow good methodologies. Second one is that they must be verifiable. So normally when we do a project, let's say when we certify a project, we need some auditing. So there is a third-party auditor that comes to validate the project, and the same for the credits. When, let's say, you plant a tree, after 5 years, someone will come to the project to verify that the tree is really there. So this is what we call the third-party verification that is some auditors that come. So it's very important. Third one, the permanence. Because they must be viable in the long term over time, and this is not always true. So we need to ensure that the project, so if we're planting some trees, that the trees will be there for a long time, will not be deforested after the project ends. So very important. The fourth one is the additionality. So the project has to be additional, so both environmentally and financially. So it means that the project would not happen if there were no finance coming from the voluntary carbon market. So environmentally is that the offsetting project would not generate an increase of emissions outside the project's perimeter. But financially is the most important. So that the project would not be financially viable if there was not the finance from the carbon credit. So let's imagine some eucalyptus plantation for pulp and paper. This would not be financial because it's already financially viable right now with the price of paper of cellulose, for example. And last but not least is the uniqueness of the credits, that they must be accounted just for once and sold only for once. So we don't sell the same credits over and over. But on top of all these criteria that are very, very important, one that we really care about here at Hummingbirds are the co-benefits. Because we think and we believe that the carbon market right now is a good instrument, but not all the projects, and the projects will not be only about carbon. There are several layers, for example, in terms of social, the benefits to community, the benefits to biodiversity, contribution to SDGs. So that's why in our projects, when we talk about high quality projects, we also think about other things beyond carbon. So we can see this as an iceberg. So the tip of the iceberg is the carbon emissions and the credits that we can generate. But below it, we have many things that we need to address in our projects. So food security, water crisis, education, quality, inequality, pollution, erosion, poverty, health, biodiversity. So we really develop and support projects that are not solely focused on carbon, but we use the instrument of carbon to generate and to support projects that will have an overall benefit that will be way beyond carbon. And then when we see the type of project and activities and ecosystems we focus on, we have 4 main areas or types of projects. So in terms of forests and forestry, we have many foresters here, I remember. We have projects focused on conservation, so focus on REDD+ projects on reforestation, restoration, which are AR, and also improved forest management. I remember that we have also many people working in agriculture here, and we do have projects focused on agroforestry, regenerative agriculture, but we also have projects in wetland and peatlands, mainly mangrove restoration, as well as cook stoves, because it's not nature-based solutions, but when we deploy and distribute improved cook stoves in rural areas, we decrease also the pressure on the natural forests because we use less wood. So this is what we do at Hummingbirds, and now focusing more on the topic that I was chosen to give to you to present today about the finance. I brought data from this report. That's a report developed in 2020 that's focused on, it's called Closing the Global Biodiversity Financing Gap. So if we see in this graph here, we can see that the global biodiversity conservation financing is around $150 billion per year. But to the needs by 2030 would be around $1 trillion, which is a lot of money. And actually the biodiversity financing gap is around $700 billion. And this is a lot, but the voluntary carbon market can be a good possibility because it can channel money from the private sector that was not necessarily focused on this area to high quality projects in the field. So if I show you this other graph that I also got from this publication, we can see that currently the nature-based solutions and carbon markets don't account for a lot. So it's around $1 billion that it channels for conservation. But in 10 years, in 2030, it could reach up to $40 billion. So it's a lot of money that we could channel. I know that some of you mentioned greenwashing, that is a financial trap or something like this, but it could be indeed a good possibility to bring money from the private sector to invest in good projects in the field. And talking a little bit about the particularities of projects in the voluntary carbon markets. So if we think that most of the projects we can see in this graph here most of the budgets right now come from domestic budgets, tax policy. This income is not very regular, so it can be variable, can be sometimes with some political change it can be irregular. But on the other hand, the voluntary carbon markets can provide a more constant flux of financial resources. Of course, it depends a lot on the market. But if we see here, these are two hypothetical projects, one in reforestation in 10,000 hectares, and the other one in REDD+ project. REDD+ specifically, we can see that if we are able to stop deforestation, we can issue credits every year and generate value to protect the forest every year. The ARR, which is the restoration, we don't generate every year because the trees grow a little bit slower, but indeed it can also provide some revenue to areas that would not be, it's another incentive to restore and to reforest our ecosystems. Bringing another more tangible data, here we can see two different, I got data from different projects in the market. So in the left, reforestation projects, in the right, conservation. And indeed, we can see that the restoration projects are focused, are a little bit more like an S-shaped curve. So it's more exponential, the number of credits that you can generate over time because of the nature of trees, that they don't grow from year zero. They take some time to establish themselves and grow, while the REDD+ projects are more stable. So you can generate value and you can generate income for your area to protect them and every year. So it's very good in terms of another flux of income to support the conservation of your area. And then I bring a question that some of you mentioned, that it could be the nature-based solutions, could be supported financially by carbon credits. And I ask a question, can this type of project be funded only with carbon credits? And the answer is yes, but it depends. It depends a lot on the price of the credit, to be honest, and this price of the credit will vary a lot according to carbon standard, to the methodology, on the co-benefits, the quality of the project, if the market is in a good or in a bad moment, and so on. And to exemplify that, I bring you here in this table different prices for different projects. So last year we had some controversy, some turbulence in the market, and there are some projects that are not known as having a high quality, and these projects, these REDD+ projects, can have credits that as low as 10 cents the ton. While if we improve the quality, so if we include, for example, these REDD+ and CCB projects are high quality, they can reach a bit higher values, and it will depend on methodology. So mangrove restoration on Vera, for example, can reach almost $30 per ton. Some agroforestry with acorn, 35 euros per ton. So it will depend a lot. And this price, the average price per credit, can help us to and give us an idea if we can support a project only with credits or if we need other sources of income as well. And just bring it here, this is from Trove Research, which is a company that works a lot on market analysis. And here to say that the project costs can range a lot according to the quality of project and the methods that use. So afforestation can be from $5 to $30 per ton, while the price in the market is around 15. So it doesn't really cover. Mangroves can be more or less covered. REDD+, the prices are being paid right now. So it depends a lot on the type of project. If you see in more specifically in REDD+ projects, this type of project is avoidance again. So if we put in place activities that will avoid the forest deforestation and degradation, and then we can issue credits. And why that is the most common project is because you have a fast financial return. The credits can be issued already 1 year after we start activities, and we don't have a very high initial investment. Plus, we have a high impact on biodiversity and social components because we are helping to conserve and to protect the forest. On the other hand, the ARR projects, which stand for afforestation, reforestation, regeneration, we put in place activities to increase the vegetative cover. So we plant trees basically, and these are removal credits. They are half of the current projects registered in the market, but only 15% of the credits ever issued. And the main reason why we don't have many credits is that the first credits will take some time to be issued because we need to wait for the trees. You have to invest a lot of money in the early stage to plant. It's not cheap. It's a bit more risky because you can plant and then after 5-10 years, there can, imagine you have a wildfire, you lose everything. And the current price of credits is not paying the whole project. So as an example, I brought here just a project in Brazil that 1 hectare would cost around 16,000 dollars to restore. But the current price of carbon credits might pay for a little bit more than half only. So there are some solutions. We think of increasing the price should be the best one. So some studies say that the price should be between $50 and $82, while now it's around 15. So it's not a lot, but this would allow to develop better projects with more biodiversity and high quality. If we do some productive restoration using other sources of income like timber species or agroforestry, non-timber forest products could be a possibility. And the other one is using mixed financing, using grant money, for example, or getting some sources that's some loans, some stuff like this. But in any case, this is a good mechanism because it can incentivize people and to kickstart high quality restoration projects. Before we wouldn't have any revenue. Now we can have pay for 50-60% of the area is quite nice. So it can be a good mechanism. And some examples from the market. So last year, McLaren bought very high quality project credits from a high quality project for $50 a ton. So this is quite good. And an example from us, this week we just opened a crowdfunding for a project, restoration project in Uganda, that we have some mixed source of income. So we do have carbon credits, but we also have some timber production. So this can pay off a little bit of the costs, but the carbon credit in this sense can support the restoration. So to close the presentation, just bringing some challenge. So as we can see here in this graph, there were some market turbulence. So this is the price of carbon credits last year. So it just went down. Sorry, I don't know what happened here. Can you still see my screen? No. No.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what happened. I think my second screen just to finish, let me share again. I'm sorry for this technical issue. But I can just speak, so I think it's easier than waiting for it to.
Let me just round up. Yeah.
Okay, now I think I can share again. Sorry for that, everyone. You see it, right? No?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm sorry, everyone, for this small technical issue, but just to close it, there are turbulence in the market. The price went down. There is an increasing attention in the voluntary carbon market and news on that. So last year there was those news from The Guardian saying that most of the REDD+ credits were very bad. Another one is about the national regulations. So we see more and more countries starting to have regulations in the market, which is quite good, but it can affect a bit the financials of the projects. The alignments with NDCs, corresponding adjustment, Article 6, that will be next masterclass, so I won't cover this. But it was also good that there is an increasing understanding of buyers regarding the quality and the different co-benefits that projects can support, ensuring the fair benefit sharing of the market. And also, this is to show that there is a need to increase the price of credits for these high quality projects. I would talk about some case studies within hummingbirds, but I think, Idris, that we could open for questions because we have around 20 minutes. So I think I talked too much already. I want to hear about you. And if you want to see more about hummingbirds projects, you can check our website. We have more information about them there. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Vitor. Thank you so much. That was very impressive, insightful, and informative presentation. Thank you so much. We have quite a lot of question and answer. Please keep your questions coming into the Q&A box. We'll take them one after the other as the time permits us. But before we go into the Q&A, Victor, I'd quickly like to give a general information to our participants that the recording of this masterclass will be made available for online reference and access. However, it is important to know that certificates of attendance will only be issued to those who participate in the live session. So, and for you to receive the certificate of course completion, I think the participant must attend at least 5 out of the first 7 sessions. I think that's mandatory. And they must attend session 8. So participants are also free to attend any session of their choice without receiving certificates of course completion anyway, but they must have attended 5 out of the first 7 sessions, and the last session, which is session 8, is mandatory. So just a quick advice to each and everyone that is struggling with the attendance, that the attendant will still be available at the end of the session. They can take their time and fill their attendance. So all the materials of the speakers will be uploaded on our webpage. I will later show you the QR code where you can scan and have access to our webpage. And then please ensure that you try as much as possible to fill the attendance. And we are also tracking through the Zoom meeting because we are recording. So we are tracking your name, your email address, and when you join and even when you leave. So don't pay too much attention. Do not focus solely on the attendance sheet, but wait and until the end of the presentations, the attendance will still be open. So I think it's now safe for us to go to the Q&A. Victor, are you ready?
Let's go.
Okay. So the first person from here is Yukira Bali. Is asking that do you think double materiality is still being ignored at the international level? Do you think so? It's been ignored, yes or no? So that we can quickly go to another question.
That's a good question. I think they are asking about the Article 6 and corresponding adjustments. This is something that's still being defined. We don't have an answer for that right now. We know that some countries, especially some countries in Africa, are doing some deals with some, like Switzerland, some other countries in Asia. So this is it's being discussed, and we probably will have an answer on that by the end of this year or by the end of next year, let's say.
Okay, thank you. This is from Geraldine Hejinto. He or she is asking that for REDD Plus to be credible project, okay, what is the usual benefit sharing mechanism for international standard? Is there any international standard for sharing mechanism of REDD Plus?
Well, on RED Plus projects, normally the standard use is Vera. So it's the most used one. And in terms of the benefit sharing, there are no rules. So we must include, of course, the communities and everyone, but there is no rule saying, okay, it has to be 50-50, 70-30. It's difficult to say that. But if you want to get the CCB label, that's the climate community biodiversity, which is a label that brings a layer of trust that you have good co-benefits. You need to prove that your co-benefits and the benefit sharing is fair and is including the community. But there is not really a number that say, okay, it has to be this.
Okay, fantastic. This one is from Paul Tabowski. He said, are NBS projects being positioned to reduce global emission? That is the question. Now that shouldn't we focus on the changing of our value chain production?
I agree, Paul. Yes. Carbon credits, I see as something that we should use to compensate and to offset the emission that we cannot really avoid. But ideally, we would focus on our value chain productions and to reduce as much as possible. I agree.
Of course, I agree with you. Okay, I think these questions, I will ask this person to visit Hummingbirds website for detailed answer, but I will read it out to you so that you can just have an idea. Ugo Wana is asking that from what Hummingbirds does, what are the biggest capacity gaps you see on the part of project actors and landowners? I believe this was okay, go ahead.
It's accessing the voluntary carbon market is not easy because it's costly. So achieving the certification is not something that everyone can have. So I would say that the main capacity gap would be accessing the market, because we know that certification and developing all the studies, the project documents is not cheap. So financial would be the main one. And then how to integrate carbon and to have an idea of project that's more on a long term instead of just very specific time, because the project has to be at least 40 years. So changing also the vision about the long term of the project.
Okay, thank you. This one is from Ricardo Beck. He's asking that carbon markets have developed around fossil fuel emission, which are non-renewable, and therefore they are linear. So biogenic carbon is cyclical, and storage can't be considered long-term. Should NBS then be treated in a different market other than VCM? One that understands the cyclical permanency and co-benefits, such as biodiversity, social, water, and the likes. Okay, should we have a separate market for NBS?
Well, Ricardo, actually, I understand your point, but I think should be is one of the categories within the voluntary carbon market. We also have this other types of removal that is more like the mechanical removal, and we see now this market's growing a lot. But in my opinion, I see that both types of projects could be and are actually happening in the voluntary carbon market. I understand that the emissions from fossil fuels is non-renewable, while we have more cyclical. But I believe that it can be a possibility, and it's a way to channel this finance to good projects that will have impact on communities, on biodiversity, and in the climate as well.
Okay, just to add to that, I think it's something we can look at in the future, but for now, I think there should not be a separate market for NBS. We can look at it from the part of research and try to come out with a recommendation and present it to policymakers. If it is possible, that something that is possible, we can as well see to it. I don't think right now, but I know very sure maybe later somebody somewhere will do something about it. Okay, this is from an anonymous. He or she said, what is the monitoring process like once the project is implemented? Do you use Vera or like in your project? So how do you monitor projects?
Well, for monitoring, the monitoring process and the monitoring plan has to be defined already when you submit a project for certification. So it will depend a lot on the type of project. So if you are doing conservation, if you're doing reforestation, but you need to have a very robust monitoring methodology, and it has to be written and described properly in your project. So it depends, the monitoring process, but we do use different methodologies. So Vera is one of them. Methodologies, no, standards. Vera is one of them because the most important, but we also have projects under Gold Standard, under Label Bas Carbone, which is a French one, and also under Climate Action Reserve, one in Mexico. So we do have different standards that we use, and monitoring process will change according to the project.
Okay. This is quite similar to the last questions you answered. Okay, what are the KPI you use for regenerative agriculture? I think this is still about monitoring. So how do you ensure that MRF for those KPIs? Can you explain country where regenerative agriculture projects are being intervened?
In terms of agriculture, the main carbon pool that we are assessing will be the soil organic carbon. So we need to ensure that the sampling is properly done and the methodology to ensure to calculate the soil organic carbon in the area along over time will be properly accounted. So I would say that the main KPI in terms of adopting regenerative agricultural practices will be the soil organic carbon for the generation of credits. But of course, we can later have other KPIs to assess the biodiversity and the community impact, etc.
Okay. Okay. So I think the next questions I will ask this person to okay, thank you, Vitor. So that I just quickly want to ask the person to check the hummingbird websites for agroforestry projects examples. But I can see that you are typing already, so the person can show up.
Yes.
Okay. Brilliant. Okay, that's good. So let's take two more questions before we go. We have so many questions, so and the time not permit us to take all the questions here. So this is about funding, climate funding. I think, how is your experience in climate funding? Is your company open to collaborating or partnering with social enterprises for developing countries? And if yes, how can we correspond with you?
Yes, Repa, please send me an email and we can discuss. Of course, we are open for collaboration with, and we actually we need to find partners because we are not many. We need to find partners in the field. So if you want to discuss some possibilities, feel free to write me an email.
Okay. I think we'll share the link to these presentations after this session, and you can as well scan the QR code so that you can have access to our webpage, and then you can access the email address of Vitor there. So the last questions I want to answer before we let you go and close the session for today is from Tushar Pradhan. He's saying, how can double counting of credits could be avoided? Is third-party registry required to maintain such occurrence? Or are there any specific standards for such transactions? That would be our last question.
Well, normally if we use the standards that are the most used ones, like Vera Gold Standard, there shouldn't be a problem of double counting. So when you register a project and after you verify, you issue the credits, it goes to a registry and it goes to a sort of type that you won't count for 2 times. Each credit will be unique, and then after you retire to offset your emissions, it will be already retired and no one can use it again. So usually this is the uniqueness of the credits is okay. And the only thing is regarding the Article 6 and how the corresponding adjustment. So imagine a company in France buys a credit from a project in Ghana. but the government in Ghana wants to use these credits as well for the NDC. So how to deal with it? And this you will learn in next class. Idris can tell a bit more about it, and it will be next class, and it's a very important topic.
Yeah. Actually, it's your session, so I need to let you handle every questions. I think we still have more questions coming in like that. We'll no longer take any questions because of time. But I would like to share some my screen for some information. Okay. Our next session is going to be on how does the VCM relate to the Paris Agreement and Article 6, and the role of VCM international climate change mitigation, comparison of Article 6 mechanism. You can see the QR code that will give you an access to our web page. It's going to give you all important information on this VCM, and then whatever concern updates you have, you can have access to it on our web page. And our speaker for the next session is going to be Astrid Massieu. She's an executive operational manager for violence. It's going to take place on Tuesday, 26th of March 2024. It's going to be session 7. So if you have not had up to 5 sessions, I will urge you to be available for the next session. And also, don't forget that the recording of each masterclass will be made available online for online reference and access through the QR code that will give you an access to our webpage. So let me also repeat and say for clarification's sake that in order for you to receive a certificate of course completion, participants must attend at least 5 out of the first 7 sessions, and it is mandatory to attend the session 8. So participants are free to attend any session of their choice without receiving the certificate of course completion. I won't advise you to do that anyway. We advise you to wait until the end of the session to sign in. We have too many people trying to have access to the attendance sheet. So it will still be open after this session. You can easily put in your details. Anyway, we are tracking the names, the email address, when you join and when you leave of every participant. The Zoom meeting that is recorded. So don't pay too much attention to the attendance sheet. Okay. So thank you so much, Vitor, for your time, for your presentation. It's breathtaking and very impressive, insightful. I think we've gained 1 or 2 information from what you've shared with us today. So for any further clarification, or you want to join the Material Task Force, you can follow us on social media. We are on X, we are on Instagram, and you can use the QR code to join. We'll look forward to meet you. But if you have any concerns or any ideas and innovation that you think you want us to collaborate with, you can write to us through our email, med.youth.tf@gmail.com. We'll gladly to receive your email. So thank you so much for your participation today. We look forward to seeing you the next time. Thank you, Vitor. Have a good day.
Thank you, Idris, and thank you, everyone.
All right.